The Duchess of Sussex's father kept her explosive letter, totally private, for 6 months, only releasing extracts after an attack from his daughter's friends in a U.S. magazine, a court heard last week. The claim that Thomas Markle was provoked into releasing details of the letter is central to a privacy case at the Court of Appeal, which last week heard a series of bombshell revelations as one of Meghan's former aides supplied fresh evidence. Jason Naff, Meghan's press secretary at the time, provided the court with emails and text messages which showed how she had sought his advice while composing the letter to her father. Meghan wrote, "Obviously everything I have drafted is with the understanding that it could be leaked, so I have been meticulous in my word choice, but please let me know if anything stands out for you as a liability." She added, "If he leaks it then that's on his conscience, but at least the world will know the truth. Words I could never voice publicly." The Duchess of Sussex won a High Court privacy battle against the Mail on Sunday after we published extracts of the letter to her father. Associated Newspapers is now appealing to have the summary judgment overturned in favor of a trial. During the 3-day appeal hearing last week, it emerged that Meghan told her press aide that she had deliberately chosen to address the letter to Daddy, to pull at the heartstrings of the public in the event that her father leaked it. Mr. Naff texted back, "The draft letter is very strong, enough emotion to be authentic, but all in resigned sadness rather than anger." He suggested a few tweaks to the order of events that could be a bit stronger. "I think it's slightly even worse than you remember. The only thing I think is essential to address in some way is the heart attack, that is his best opening for criticism and sympathy." Meghan texted Mr. Naff, who had saved the Duchess under the pseudonym Tilly in his phone, saying, "My plan is to write it by hand and FedEx it to, name redacted, who will then mail it to my father." In a statement to the court, Meghan said, "I went to considerable lengths to ensure that the letter only went to my father, and that, in the event that it was intercepted or leaked, an eventuality I considered would be unfortunate, if it happened, that its contents could not be manipulated or misleadingly edited." The messages highlight tensions within the family, with Meghan saying Harry, who she called H, was constantly berated. After a visit to the Castle of May, where Meghan and Harry stayed with Charles and Camilla, Meghan wrote, "Even after a week with his dad and endlessly explaining the situation, his family seemed to forget the context, and revert to, can't she just go and see him and make this stop? They fundamentally don't understand, so at least by writing H will be able to say to his family, she wrote him a letter and he's still doing it. By taking this form of action, I protect my husband from this constant berating and while unlikely perhaps it will give my father a moment to pause." Lawyers acting for Associated Newspapers argue that the fact that the letter was drafted with the help of her press secretary, and its existence leaked to a U.S. magazine, makes it a public-facing document, rather than a purely private missive from daughter to father. Andrew Caldecott QC, acting for the newspaper group, said, "Mr. Markle had honored the privacy in this letter until the People article appeared." The article painted Meghan in a glowing light, while insisting the negative stories about her were lies. But Mr. Markle says Meghan's decision to reveal the letter left him with no choice but to go public. "The letter was presented in a way that vilified me and wasn't true," he said. "It was presented as her reaching out and writing a loving letter in the hope of healing the rift, but the letter isn't like that at all. Either we believe in freedom of expression or we do not." Mr. Markle has been royally attacked in the People magazine in precisely the way he there describes, and this is his reply. In another twist, the Duchess was forced to apologize to the court after new evidence appeared to contradict a previous statement. In September last year, the Sussexes' lawyers said the couple did not collaborate with authors Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand on their sympathetic biography Finding Freedom, and any suggestion of cooperation was utterly fantastical. Mr. Scobie also told the court that month that any suggestion the Duke and Duchess collaborated on the book is false. But last week written evidence showed that both Meghan and Harry had granted permission to Mr. Knopf to talk to the authors. In a statement to the court, Mr. Knopf said that in December 2018 the Sussexes had authorized specific cooperation in writing. In one message, Harry wrote to Mr. Knopf, "Are you planning on giving him a rough idea of what she's been through over the last 2 years? Media onslaught, cyberbullying on a different scale, puppeteering Thomas Markle, etc., etc., etc. Even if they choose not to use it, they should hear what it was like from someone who was in the thick of it. So if you aren't planning on telling him, can I?" Mr. Knopf said. He replied, "Of course, I've never stopped," to which Harry replied, "Oh, how I hope they report on it properly. Good luck." During a 2-hour meeting with the authors, Mr. Knopf relayed the contents of a lengthy briefing note Meghan had written for that purpose. 3 appeal court judges are now being asked to overturn the original summary judgment handed down by Lord Justice Warby and launch a full trial. Lawyers acting for the Duchess argue that there is no need for a trial because there is no prospect that a different judgment would be reached after a trial. Justin Rushbrook QC, acting for the Duchess, added that Mr. Knopf's revelations could not transform the case. He argued that Meghan had a right to privacy over the contents of the letter, because any other answer leads to the proposition that the editor of a newspaper has the right to decide when to first publish a private letter, not the writer of the letter. That is not the law of this country. It would also invite questions about at what point does the writer of the letter lose their right of privacy.